Step away from the table.
What about under the table?
Or under the table, just kind of back.
But not over
43?
the table.
Yeah, just don't be on the phone, like, even...
David bets 4,300 into 49, which puts Alec Torelli in a pretty tough
It's
decision.
so weird, but even out there, you're allowed to be on the phone.
He's visibly frustrated here.
What's the
You can use
difference?
your phone out there. There's a live stream. Whatever it is, they just want the phone out.
That's fair. It's their game.
Supposed to call, but I feel like I
Louis?
Alex Torelli talking to David there.
Hand of the day.
What's up, guys? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome back to the Hand of the Day. I am leaving for Thailand in like 4 hours. I know it's getting dark and I'm scrambling to shoot you guys videos, so I'm not going to change shirts the whole week. And I'm going to try and get these all in before it's dark, but you might find me at the airport. If you do, you know why. Anyway, this hand, I got a lot of requests from readers to showcase hands where I maybe made a mistake or I lost a big hand, and to show how I could learn from those instances as well. And so I picked out an interesting hand that I played on live at the bike that I'd like to share with you, and hopefully we could learn something from it. So this hand of the day kicks off with 25-50 blinds on live at the bike. Under the gun opens to 150. Andy is regular on the show. You've seen him before. David in third position calls 150. Very good, solid, aggressive pro. And I'm to his immediate left with 2 aces. Here I have a clear 3-bet, but one caveat to make a point about is the raise sizing. I definitely want to be raising bigger pre-flop because we are very deep, and I want to cut down on my opponent's implied odds to call pre-flop. I want to really punish them and charge them a lot to draw against my hand, especially because I have a really good hand. I don't want them to be in there with something like 6s or 7s that are going to play very well or perfectly against my aces. So if they are going to draw with these hands and potentially bust me, I definitely want to charge them a lot, especially because we are so deep. So my 3-bet sizing here is always going to be bigger. I opt to make it 750. Andy calls and David calls, and we go 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes queen, queen 10, rainbow, and they both check to me, which is very standard, and here I have a tough decision. I could opt to either bet for value and for protection with aces, or I could opt to check for pot control and deception. So here I think you could really go both ways, but it's important that you have a game plan and a strategy that's conducive to how you're going to play hands like aces or kings or jacks on these types of flops. And here's what I mean by that. If you're going to adopt a checking strategy on this flop, you have to be balanced here so that every time you check, you don't have very weak hands. So I opted to check this flop with something like aces, but that's fine in my overall game plan so long as I check back the flop with hands like maybe a queen or maybe 10s full and quads, etc., so that every time I check the flop, I'm not face up and my range isn't polarized. I don't want to have something like air or aces, or specifically aces and not even air, just because my hand looks exactly like I have what I have, and that's very problematic against good at thinking opponents like Andy and David. If you do decide to bet a flop like this, that's also fine. You could even bet aces on this flop, but you should also be balancing that out by betting some bluffs like ace king or ace jack, as well as betting your queens, your queen x hands, so that when you bet this flop, your range isn't too weak and you're only betting bluffs and sort of vulnerable overpairs. So it's okay to do both on this flop, specifically with something like aces. It's definitely tough to play, and it's hard to get 3 suits of value, so you sort of have to check one street, and checking the flop seems like a reasonable option. Mixing that in with checking some strong hands makes you very, very tough to play against. So I opted to check the flop here. I think it goes better into my overall game plan, and we see a turn 3 ways. Turn comes a 9, bringing a flush draw, and Andy checks. David bets 1,300, and here I have a very, very clear call. The pot's about 4,000 at this point, and I have 2 aces. I definitely have to call at this point. He could be value betting worse hands. He could have something like jacks. He could have a 10x type hand, and he could also have some draws. There are definitely hands that beat me. He could be betting any queen this way, so all queen jack, queen 10 suited, 10s full, 9s full beat me, king queen, ace queen beats me, as well as king jack. So I am very cautious about him having a stronger hand than me, but at the same time, very clear call here. And when I call, it's important to keep the same strategy that you adopted on the flop as well as on the turn. So I don't want to be calling with aces here and then calling with like ace king and then raising with all my queen X hands, because that leaves my calling range very weak. So I want to be balanced here and make sure that whatever strategy I adopt on the flop, I'm going to be taking the same strategy with all my hands on the turn, and that means I'm just going to be calling the turn no matter what I have, unless I'm have nothing and I'm going to fold. But any hand that I play on the turn, I'm going to continue as a call to keep my range balanced and not let my opponents know where I'm at. So I call, Andy folds, and we go heads up to the river. River comes an offsuit 4, and David bets 4,300. So this is where things get really interesting. I have a really tough decision. At this point, he's basically eliminated value betting worse hands on the river. So whereas on the turn, he could have been value betting something like jacks and ace 10, on the river, he's just not going to have those types of hands. When I call the turn, my hand looks strong. It looks like I have sort of like what I have, like maybe an overpair. I could still be trapping with a queen, tens full, or quads, or king jack, or nines. I could have all those hands as well. So my range is relatively strong. And if you look at my range, it doesn't really make sense to bet something like ace 10 because I don't really have many worse hands in my range, and most of my worse hands are going to fold. And a lot of my hands are going to be jacks, kings, and aces, or better hands. So he's not value betting something worse, especially for this bet size. So here, then I have to say to myself, okay, he could either be bluffing, or he could be value betting something better. Let's look at both of those things to try and figure out which one sounds more likely and how I should respond with my aces. Well, he could be value betting king jack, any queen, all his queens are going to bet, queen jack even is going to bet. He could only have queen jack suited though, or king queen suited, because he's not going to play those offsuit preflop for a 3-bet out of position. I block some ace queens, but he can have ace queen. And he could also have queen 10 suited, 10s full, and 9s full. So he could have quite a few hands that beat me, even though when you add up all the combos of those hands, there actually aren't that many combos of those hands. At the same time, there aren't that many combos of bluffs, and that's sort of the problem. The good news is for me, or the difficult part for me, I guess, is I don't have the ace of hearts. So had I had the ace of hearts in this hand, my fold would be a lot easier because I would block all of the nut flush combos that he can have. Something like ace 5 suited of hearts is a reasonable hand for him to have and then bluff this river with as well. So he can have, sorry, there's a bunny running around my yard. He can have all those hands. He can have all the ace high flush draws, and he could even have some hands that maybe he's turning something into a bluff like jack 10, which is pretty unlikely because he has some showdown value. It's just probably not a hand he would bluff, but that's possible as well. So I basically beat like 7-8, ace jack, ace high flush draws, and maybe some like 6-7 of hearts if he can have those hands. There just aren't that many combos of flush draws. In this spot, I think it's very close between calling and folding. If you add up the combos of bluffs that he have and then you figure out the equity I need to call, something like 30%, it's going to be pretty close between a call and a fold, and I think this spot is very close, and it's a tough spot to know exactly what to do with aces. But in this particular spot, my intuition told me that David had a strong hand, and if you watch the tape, you can see me agonizing here on the river, saying to myself, I feel like you have it, I know you have it, but then I sort of talked myself into a call, and I talked myself into it because I was like, well, this is one of the better hands I can have. If I'm not calling with aces, I'm too exploitable, maybe I'm folding too often and my opponent could bluff me. I play a lot of poker with David, and I didn't want to be too exploitable in a spot like this. I have to show him that I'm capable of making big calls. I'm not going to just make huge folds in big spots. That's going to be problematic for me down the line. So there's a lot of metagame things going on at a high level, and I sort of talked myself into a call against my better judgment when I feel like I should have folded. So I'm a little bummed about this spot. I generally feel like the things I regret the most in poker are times that I don't trust my intuition, and I bit myself in the ass in this one, and I paid the price. So I called the river and lost. David had a full house, 9's full. Well done, David. You spanked me, and cool, man. Well done. I hope you liked this video. If you like it, subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time on the Hand of the Day, putting out more content this week from around the world. I'll see you guys in Phuket next week. I'll put out some awesome videos from there, I promise. So stay subscribed, and you'll see a lot of cool content coming. Take it easy. See you guys next time. Cheers.